All right, welcome. Today we are jumping straight into what I think is the most make or break part of any analytics project, the analysis phase. This is where a great idea either gets a rock-solid foundation or where it's destined to fail before you've even written a single line of code. So yeah, let's get right into it.
So here's our game plan. We're going to cover 5 key questions. Basically a roadmap that takes you all the way from a fuzzy business idea to a real actionable plan. Honestly, getting this part right is what separates the projects that actually deliver value from the ones that just, well, fizzle out.
First up, and this is without a doubt the most critical step of all, validating the core problem. A project's success is so often decided right here at the very beginning, long before we get to do any of the cool stuff like model building. This is the question, right? You have to think of this as the ultimate gatekeeper for your entire project. Answering it with brutal honesty saves you from pouring countless hours and a whole lot of money into building a beautiful, brilliant solution to the completely wrong problem. Or, maybe worse, trying to solve a problem that your data just can't handle.
And just to be super clear, this phase isn't about finding the solution yet. Not at all. It's about getting a firm yes on 2 things. First, is this business problem we're looking at real, and is it actually worth solving? And second, looking at the data we have on hand, do we have a fighting chance of actually pulling this off?
Okay, so we've confirmed the problem is real and it's worth our time. Awesome. What is the absolute first thing we do with our data? Well, we need to take its pulse, give it a quick surface-level checkup. This is what we call profiling its syntax. Syntactic profiling is really all about looking at your data one column at a time. The best analogy is, it's like glancing at the nutrition label on a package of food. You're not tasting the whole meal yet. You're just getting the basic facts on the individual ingredients. How much of this, how much of that? It's that fundamental first step. And these simple metrics, they're like our first-line diagnostic tools. A max value that's just impossibly high, that could point to a data entry error. A mean that's way different from the median, that tells you your data is probably skewed. And the null count? Oh, the null count is the biggest red flag of them all. A high null count tells you your data might be so incomplete that you can't even get started. It saves you from building a house on a foundation of sand. So now we know the basics of each individual column, but how do we figure out how all these ingredients actually work together in the recipe? This is where we have to go a level deeper, moving from syntax to semantics. And this brings us to a really important distinction. See, if syntactic profiling is like checking the health of each individual tree, semantic profiling is about stepping back and seeing the entire forest. We're not just looking at single fields anymore. We're asking, how does this field relate to that one? We're uncovering the dependencies and correlations that tell the real story hidden in the data. Here's a classic example you've probably seen a million times. Semantic profiling is what helps us understand the business rules that are baked right into the database structure. We discover that one customer can have many accounts, and each of those accounts can place multiple orders. And of course, each order can have several transactions. Understanding this hierarchy isn't just nice to know, it's absolutely crucial before you can even think about building a useful model. So we've validated the problem. We've profiled the data syntactically and semantically. We get it. We understand its potential. So what now? How do we actually turn all this knowledge into a concrete plan of attack? This is the bridge we all have to cross. You see, understanding the data is one half of the battle. The other half is defining the exact requirements for how we're going to use it. This is where we have to spell out what our model is actually going to do and how the business is going to react to it. See, it's not enough to just build a model that says, this customer has a 75% chance of churning. You have to define the decision strategy. What happens at 75%? Do we automatically send them a 10% discount? What about at 85%? Maybe that triggers a personal call from a retention specialist. Defining that specific logic and then building the technical plumbing to make it happen automatically, that's operational integration. And that brings us to our final and honestly probably the most overlooked piece of this whole analysis puzzle. With all these automated decisions happening, how do we protect ourselves and the business when, not if, but when, the model gets something wrong? I absolutely love this quote because it frames it perfectly. Audits and controls are not just some bureaucratic busywork. They are essential safety features. They are the circuit breakers you design into the system from day one to stop a tiny error from spiraling into a massive, very expensive problem. And this is why building trust into an automated system has to be intentional. You have to design it in from the very beginning. The monitoring plan, the performance thresholds, the whole governance piece.
It all has to be part of the initial blueprint. It is absolutely positively not a nice-to-have feature you can just tack on at the end.
So, as we wrap up, I'll just leave you with this question to chew on for your own projects. By following this kind of structured analysis, from validating the problem, to really understanding the data, to defining the action, and then building in those crucial controls, you set yourself up for an analytics project that doesn't just generate insights, but delivers real, tangible, and trusted value.
Hey, if you got some value out of this explainer, the best thing you can do is to like, share, and of course, subscribe. It really does help other people find this content, and it makes sure you don't miss out on our next deep dive. Thanks so much for watching.